Second. All right, so welcome to tonight's episode of Exceptional Circumstances for Exceptional Learners. I am Rebecca Muller, and I will be your host tonight as we discuss sharing the transition to college. And I think that this is such an important topic because I think that, nobody has to do it the same way or in, the same aspect, but we all have the chance to pursue whatever dreams we have. So the point of tonight was to meet with Jennifer Sullivan. There is something happening on her end. I'm sure there's a reason. But in the meantime, we'll hope that she shows up. But she just recently published a book called Sharing the Transition to College. And the idea of it, she is an actual coach. She coaches families to get into school while they're at school or during the whole process, because those of you who have ever experienced it, it's cumbersome. And she specifically is focused on children with diverse needs or anybody who has had a 504 and an IEP and really needs that extra support and might not realize what they can get when they go to a college. For me, as a teacher, I've taught fourth grade, seventh grade, and now I'm at the high school. I teach math. And what has been interesting to me is that I don't think I recognized how important the math was to getting the kids over the hump to get into that school, whether it was, taking an entrance exam or the SATs, or if they're going to a community college, it's the AccuPlacer, and really trying to start to embed those things into the curriculum that, that weren't there. So, what I like about her book is that it's not like this is what to do. It's kind of like you pick up and there are several and different tips for the students and for the families, from financial things to how to set up a dorm room to how to make that first friend to, before you do all that, applying to school and how to keep that organized. And so we were looking towards more of a conversation tonight to really address your questions, your own experiences. So I would love to open up the floor and just have a very candid discussion and to hear your thoughts. And everyone is welcome to kind of chime in. And if we get Jennifer in the room, that will be a bonus. But just a little bit of background about ECEL. This whole thing is not about having one expert in the room. This is about the collective genius of everyone together. And that anytime we're going through and experiencing things like sending your kid off to college, we all have had different experiences of our own. For me, I know I didn't get much direction. My parents were actually shocked when I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm going to school. And it's been a journey. So is there anyone that would like to ask their first question? Abby Walker. Sorry, I have a couple of at least one student with me today, who's a total inspiration to me. So I'm going to put her on the spot tonight.
Thanks, Ms. Muller. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
So I was saying to Ms. Muller that it's really hard to figure out how to navigate the college websites and systems. I would want to learn how to apply for colleges, look for scholarship opportunities, and find out more about colleges. but they make the websites, each one of them, so different and very confusing. I was wondering if there's any like tips or like tricks or any information you can give to kind of navigate that a little bit better, because I think sometimes for students it's hard enough to transition to college, but finding it can be really difficult. So yeah.
So I'll speak a little bit to my own experience. You know me, so you know how type A I can be. I had a binder, right? And I just kept everything, every piece of paper, and I actually made myself a checklist of, and there's some out there that I've definitely come across that I would love to share. But what's the tuition? What's the student to teacher ratio? Like, are you looking for a sport? What are the things that are important to you? And then sometimes the website, like what I was saying to a student today, like the website would get me enough to get a tour or to go and contact someone else. But that contact now, all of that is online. So there's another element to applying to schools now that you really have to be resourceful. And, talking to some of the people at the colleges could be a little intimidating. And I really think that it's worth it in a school setting for us to practice that.
By the way, I learned about something yesterday, and I don't remember the website, but I can look it up. There's I really don't remember what it's called, but I just had like a really cool idea, because when I was applying to colleges, you could go and spend the night and you could like ask the real questions that you didn't want to ask like in front of your parents and stuff. And because on the tour, like they're selling it. I mean, you have to remember this is all PR, and what they're doing online and what they say on the tours, they're gonna it's marketing, right? So you have to remember that. And especially now with the pandemic. And so they have this really cool new program, or I don't even know what it's called, but where it's a great idea where you can I think it's through Snapchat or something like that. I'm not well versed in those things, but you can go on certain, like if you pick a college or university that might interest you, where you can connect with certain students, and these are not people like it's totally confidential, right? And these are not people selling the school. It has nothing to do with your admission, and you can ask the real questions, and they will give you the real answers. Like, what are the parties like? What's it really like? Are the
There's
guys really
no
hot? Like,
part that doesn't happen at school.
so
No, it's
come on.
all studying.
So, yeah,
These are
whatever.
my
So,
students.
I don't know what college you went to. So, but anyway, so I'm just saying, and I think it's a great idea. And what also is nice is, even if you don't end up choosing that school or they don't choose you, it's a really nice way to make potential friends too. So I can look up what it's called if that might be helpful for anybody, but it just sounded like a really good idea.
To actually talk to and
To
people
real
who have,
students who
yeah.
are actually there. Like, what's the food like? And are the fraternity, is the Greek system like the only social system? Like questions that they're not going to have in the handbook. You know what I mean?
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. That helps a lot.
I can look it up if you want and find out what it's called. I'm trying to get my daughter to do it. We'll see.
Okay.
Abby asked a question in the chat.
Oh.
Or maybe Abby's mom did, I don't know.
Okay.
That asked about when to start applying and do scholarships carry. So you actually can start applying to most colleges in August before senior year. So if you're going to go to a college, we are in the year 21. So if you're going to go to college in September of 22, applications most open in August, some open in July. In 21, believe it or not, they're open that far in advance. And a lot of the schools now, it's, they use one application process. There's actually two big application One's the Common App and one's the other one that I forget what it's called right off because I want to remember it and I can't. But they are the basic applications that once you fill it out one time, you don't have to do it 14 more times. So that's very helpful.
Application for every college that you're applying to?
So you fill it out once, and that's the main application. Some schools ask for you to answer another question or give them some more information. But once you have filled out your name, your address, your courses, your intended majors, those kinds of things that, you know, are often a couple of pages worth of questions, you don't have to do it again. And you can determine what school it goes to. So the schools will each tell you what application they use.
They usually ask for references and things like that from teachers, or
so what the process goes, I'm most familiar with Naviance, and Abby is too. So my own children actually have it as well. But Naviance makes life very simple. And I am sure there are other systems besides Naviance that I don't know of in other states. But it is a very streamlined process as long as you follow the guidelines or the timelines, right? So as soon as you determine what college you want to go to, and you've taken some tours or looked up online, and you start then to think, okay, what are they asking of me? Well, most colleges want 2 references from teachers, or a teacher and a club advisor or something like that. If you are a member of the theater and you are really involved in theater, you might want to get the theater advisor to do it. If you are a member of the soccer team and you are now a varsity player and you have been a varsity player for 3 years, you'd probably want to get your soccer coach to write a reference. Some schools don't allow that. They have certain requirements and each school will be slightly different, but for the most part, you pick 2 people from your high school to do that. And your guidance counselor, school counselor will also write a reference because they know a little bit more about you. You know, they know when you've worked with them to pick classes, what kind of classes you've had interest in, what kind of clubs you may have joined, and what kind of person you are a little bit overall, because sometimes you've only had that teacher once. You may connect with them, but you've only had them once. And they know about you as a student, but they've only had you for a year. In some classes, it's only a half a year if they're block scheduling. So there are some limitations that teacher might have. And so you fill that, you ask those teachers to do that, and they submit it through the system. You never touch that piece of paper, which makes life a little bit easier and a little bit harder because you're relying on the teacher to get it done, but you don't have to lose the piece of paper. So there are some pluses and minuses. So you do that, and then you also have to request your transcript. So there's a process you go through, and your school counselor will give you something of a checklist or a step-by-step guide. And it might be on a Google Classroom at this point because that's sort of how we're all doing things. Mm-hmm. And you just follow that step-by-step guide. And
excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Do they give that step-by-step guide before you apply in August, I assume, or do they give it to you when
they're doing that conversation with juniors?
With juniors, okay.
We just
you already did?
We just had that conversation.
I was going to say, I think the junior meetings were probably this past month. Yeah.
So
mm-hmm.
And go ahead, Deb.
Yeah, and so then you apply, then you have to wait. Sometimes the school will come back and say, oh, and if you take an SAT or an ACT, which not every school does anymore, you can also have those scores sent to the schools you want to as well. Sometimes the schools will come back and say, this part of your application is missing. Can you please look at it and do it? So they'll reopen it and they'll send you an email and you'll have to look at their portal. Each school has their own little portal or dashboard or app or whatever words you'd like to use, which is very annoying because if you've applied to 6 schools, you have to look at 6 schools pretty much every few days, but you do it. And if they need updated information, some of them ask every quarter for updated grades. If they want that, they'll ask you to enter them. So, you know, there's things that you just have to continue on with. As for scholarships, a scholarship is usually not college. No, scholarships can be school-based. Scholarships cannot be school-based. Mm-hmm. So some schools, If you apply for a scholarship given by that school, you have to stay there to keep it. So if it's a scholarship at a community college, they may only allow you to use it while you're there. Or if it's a scholarship from the local Rotary and it's a 4-year scholarship, you get that every year, no matter where you go. It's probably up to 4 years. Some people take longer to go to school, but it's probably for 4 years. So different scholarships have different things.
I will say one of the things that we were going to discuss from the book is that at the end of the book, there is a QR code for the resources, which I am going to finagle since that I'm going to get them all sent to you who have registered. But one of the things that floored me was, every campus should have a campus disability office. And so one of the materials here are the 6 questions to ask the campus disability office. 1, how many staff are there for support? So part-time, full-time, are there the student mentors? Are there deadlines or important dates that students need to know in order to request accommodations? So if you know that you're looking to get an accommodation such as extended time, there are certain deadlines. And for whatever reason, it's this giant mystery that you have to go through layers and layers. So if you know ahead of time that you're going to go directly to the disability office, that is a huge bonus. Does the disability office offer fee-based systems of tiered supports, such as academic coaching, executive functioning support, autism, social supports, etc.? So now there's this whole system, and Sarah is a friend of mine who works at Cabrini in Pennsylvania, and she was saying that there's this whole kind of extra fees that you can pay in order to continue to have those supports. I think that's and now of course there's also people like Jen who exist, who you can get from beyond the school, that are there to support you through the process, so the parents can have a little bit more of they can trust their student to do the things that perhaps you've been doing all of high school for them. I think that's one of the big fears that I hear from parents, is that, well, who's going to check in to make sure that they're getting up for class? And there are things out there to support that, and hopefully eventually to give that student the independence that they need.
But to clarify, they cannot legally charge you to give supports if you are on a 504.
Okay.
By law, they cannot. It is a civil rights. That's a civil rights law.
As long as the supports are within your needs for your 504, they can't charge you at all. If you're asking for things that are above and beyond,
that's a different
that's different, but absolutely they cannot charge you. If you're a student who has a processing delay and you need the outlines for the class given to you so you can refresh yourself, they can't charge you to do that at all. They also can't talk to your parents.
Right. If you ask to have the pizza delivered every month, that's a different
game. Yeah. So something important for parents to know, Rebecca was saying, you're worried about making sure your student is getting to class on time, using the services. They can't tell you. It doesn't matter. They won't tell you what's going on, because they won't even tell you with your child sitting next to you on a Zoom call.
I'm really not worried about this one.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that's just a thing. People need to know that. My daughter's a freshman. She asked me to do a meeting with her and her advisor, but she had some questions. She doesn't have any disabilities that would require her to get special support. She simply had some questions, and she wanted me to hear them because she needed input, and I was the one around because she's here. So they said to her, the next time you have a meeting, your mom can't be there unless you've signed off on a form, even with her sitting there. So that's a tough adjustment for a lot of parents. It's hard. It's hard to let them feel independent, even when they're, they're a good kid and they're very capable. It's a little bit of a scary thing.
But I
So
also think it's an important thing because it's in, they're young adults and they need to learn how to, I mean, I can't tell you how many clients I've had that have said, can I call them and wake them up? I'm going to call them and
No.
make sure they go to class. I'm like, no, that's not good for them in the long run, And
here
as
comes the helicopter, right?
I mean, I'm sorry, it's just not. And this is from someone who's being accused of being a helicopter mom. It's just not good for them. I'm sorry, it's just not.
So a few more questions on this list. What is the college's process for requesting accommodations? Can students complete the process online, or do students need to actually go and visit the disability office in person? Now, I don't know what that looks like in the current environment, but that's important to know. And then how are the faculty notified of the student accommodations? Is there a meeting? Is it just an email that goes out? And as well as what you just talked about, does the disability office have a FERPA release form that is available to students who wish to waive their rights of confidentiality, thus allowing the parents to communicate with the disability office staff? So you need to know all that going in before there's a problem. And it's definitely something that not everybody on a tour might think to bring up because they might not have had to do it, so they're not sure where the office is. So that's where the advocacy piece and really comes in. There are many other resources. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get these all out to you. Things to do on when there's a virtual open house, because now that's more of the common thing. So how do you make sure to get your questions answered? Study skills checklist, an action goal planner, and also just to make sure that college is the right move. I think that we're seeing that perhaps there are many other options, and that's definitely a question that I had tonight for Jen, but we can have for the group. How do you know if your kid is ready for college? How do you determine if it's okay to take a year off or a couple years off? Because education is lifelong. You should always know that there's a chance to go back. I mean, how many folks do you know that have a degree and realized that wasn't for them and went back many years later? And with the costs and being what they are there other options, and how do you support your child in that? So those are a lot of kind of big ideas, but I open it up to the floor. Anybody want to take it? I'm curious because I know that there's a few people in the room, and I love to have faces. I talk to the black squares all day, so it's so good to see you all. Denise, I feel like you've been doing a lot of head shaking and nodding. You're still on mute, hon. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, so I'm a learning consultant in a school district in South Jersey. I sent this out to my parents hoping they would hop on, but I don't see any parents. But you learn something new every day with sitting in these webinars. But I do, your comment about, I have two children. My son, who's going to be 30, when he graduated high school, he was ready. Like he scored well on the SATs. He went to St. Augustine Prep, which is all boys Catholic school down towards the shore. And he was bright. He was ready. He was prepared, but we pulled him out in March because even though he was bright enough, he was not ready to like put forth the work and the effort, because he may have been top in high school, but when you go to college and you're an engineering major, it's a whole different ball game. So it is hard. I know one of our principals one time, like and I guess Abby is a student sitting on here, right, Abby? So are you a junior?
Yeah, I'm a junior. Mhm.
So I know one time, one of our open houses, the one of the administrators said, like you're college prepared. Like you have college prep level classes and they teach you test taking strategies and all those kind of things, but are you college ready? It's very different. I mean, reading 20 pages a night is going to be a whole lot different in college when, you're reading 60 or 100 pages, and then you have to write 2 pages versus maybe 8 or 10 pages. It's different. And I question that with all my juniors and seniors, like, you skated by in high school, but college is a whole different thing, especially if you're going to go away and you're going to be independent and you have to wake up, eat healthy, exercise, get enough sleep, and maybe do a little bit of that fun stuff on the side. It's a lot to juggle and manage. So, that's.
I mean, just speaking from experience. So I went to community college because that's what my brother did. So whatever he did, I just do what he did. I didn't apply to any other place because I think I was really afraid of rejection. So I was like, I'm just gonna do what he did because he had gone to Rutgers and then failed his first semester and came home. And I saw what that did to him, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna do this. I'll do what I can. And, everybody's like, oh, community college, it's 13th grade, blah, 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 blah. And so that first semester with all my friends away, I really was like, oh, I made a mistake. What did I do? Like, I was a decent student. I was involved. I had a couple of scholarships and I'm at community college, right? Like, so I was ready to transfer. And, before I did that, I had a meeting with somebody in the student activities office. And she offered me, she goes, listen, like it sounds like you're not quite sure exactly where you want to go yet. Why don't you get involved with us? We're doing a leadership convention. And I'm going to, we're sending a group of kids to Florida. And I was like, no, I'm getting out of here. And she's like, wait, for free? Just like a bunch of kids. I'll think about it. And so instead of transferring as a second semester freshman, I decided to stay and I got involved and I got connected and I met friends that I still have today. And what I loved about community college is that I was in class. I had a philosophy class that was so diverse. We had an 80-year-old man. We had a 16-year-old boy who was trying to get to college sooner, and everything in the middle. And the conversations we had were incredible. And half of my professors were professors at Drexel, Temple, that were doing the adjunct thing at the community college. And I'm telling you, I had some of the best classes at community college and then was able to do well there and get active there and transfer and got a lot more money when I went as a junior. And I highly recommend, because I went to my 4-year school. I chose it because it looked like Hogwarts and they gave me the most money. And it was far enough away, but close enough away to home.
Arcadia?
But still scared. Huh?
Was it Arcadia?
Chestnut Hill.
Oh, okay.
Arcadia was a close second though, because they were going to send me to Italy, and I was like,
They do a lot of traveling, yeah.
Yeah, they do, and I think back to that a lot. But I went to Chestnut Hill, and it's interesting because it just felt right. I can't explain it. It felt right. I talked to the people, and it just was the fit. And I was going to do a 5-year I've changed my mind so many times, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's what job you get and wherever you go last and how you choose to use that experience. So now I've literally have gone to community college. I've gone to a private Hogwarts college. I went for my master's, I went to Rowan, which is a state university. And most recently, I got a certificate from the University of Penn, an Ivy League school, to a girl that wasn't even going to go to college to begin with. So, like,
Yeah.
there's ways, right? And I think with a disability or without it, college is this like, one, I think there's other ways to do it, but two, the process shouldn't be the thing that gets in the way of you going.
Right.
The fear of getting a rejection and letter should not be the thing that stops you, because if you've had adversity in school and if you can speak to that, I think we're seeing that the schools want a more diverse type of person. I think we're finally, God, I hope, moving away from the cookie cutter person. We want innovation and creativity. And I think that there's a lot to be said in the special ed world. It's not about your grades. It's about who you are and what you do. There's ways around it. And honestly, it's finding people to support you and to have the conversations and to talk. And now I think with the online world, like, we have the ability to talk to a student that went there through whatever app. You have the ability to reach out to alumni. Maybe the disability office knows someone who dealt with a similar thing that you went through or that a student went through, and you can talk to them and see how they did. And I think that's a powerful thing too, to make those connections. And then now you have somebody who knows, like, what classes are good and what professor to take, which is why, if you think about it, that's why Facebook started to begin with, way back in the 2005 land. It was to trade books and figure out what professor to take.
Right.
So I don't feel like doing the math. I've been doing math all day and it'll make me feel old. But now that we're in 2021, like, look how much that's changed, right? But now we have a broader span to talk to individuals.
May I ask the groups for some help? Because
Absolutely.
I'm really stuck. I don't want to take up the whole meeting group, obviously, but I'm really stuck because my daughter is a junior in a highly competitive school.
High school or college?
High school.
High
She's
school.
a junior. And it's heartbreaking because she has she's a dual exceptional student. She's in the 95th to the 99th percentile in every area except for executive functioning, where she's in the less than first percentile. So you can imagine that frustration. Oh, and visual spatial, which is about second percentile. So that's frustrating. And couldn't be more involved with leadership, social action, theater, very community oriented, loves helping the underdog. She's very active in the community, as much as she can be now with COVID, in a variety of ways, in school and out of school. She, other than French, she has all A+ in honors and AP classes. And I think honestly, it's a fear of failure and rejection. What's happening is, and part of my issue is, as a consultant, special ed consultant, right now I'm in 13 districts. Part of my frustration is there's such a lack of consistency, and I feel like there isn't. It's part her, but big picture also. There isn't an even keel. So there isn't juniors right now and current seniors are not being measured equally. So for example, she has to take French pass fail, and because quite frankly, she has a colossal bitch for a teacher that she had last year. And it's the only teacher that teaches French that she had last year. So she has to have her again. So I fought to take it for her to take it pass fail. So when COVID hit, even though she has a 4.0, if you have a pass, that reduces her GPA down to a 2.47.
So you're saying the way that the GPA system is structured is not fair to special ed kids? Is that what you're saying?
Not to her. And I find that unconscionable. And so then we're torn. So then do we give her a grade, and then she ends up with this getting probably a C, which still brings it down anyway. So there's that issue. The other the issues that are problematic are that I don't know if all schools are doing this, but I don't think so. They're not sending freshman grades on her transcript, which is a shame because they're all A's. And she has to they're only sending June, you can only send, your references can only be junior year teachers, which I've never heard of before.
Is that her school's requirement?
Yes. Which doesn't seem equitable because
No.
I don't know, when I went to high school, I had a freshman year
So-
teacher.
So I'm hearing, I mean, for the most part, work with, I work with 9th through 12th, but the juniors
Right.
and seniors who I work with, some of them have similar issues. But so I would have her right away contact the academic advisor, that's not the right word, the admissions counselor of the colleges in which she's intending to apply. And if that's 10 of them, that's 10 of them, that's okay.
Yep.
If you have to write the email for her or with her and then have her send it off, I think that's probably pretty acceptable.
She sent it anyway. That's my question. Whether they look
She-
at it, or who cares?
Yes, the admissions counselors will have a conversation with you. They may not have a Zoom with you, but they would have a few email exchanges.
Okay.
And they, the interesting part is they can request specific things that your school is not willing, her high school is not willing to do. If your high school is saying you may only choose your junior teachers, their college counselor, admissions counselor may say, well, we also need a freshman person and we also need her freshman grades. She is to report her freshman grades, whether or not the school sends a transcript. That's part of the rules. So she self-reports.
Right. Like what?
Yeah.
So, because I
So-
figure send them anyway. Who cares? Right? I mean, it's my feeling.
You
Okay,
have to. They want to know.
Okay. And
It's part of it. And they make you sign an honesty clause. That's not the right word, but you know, you're
Like
being
a-
truthful.
of course.
You know.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. And then the other problem that we're having is that because I'm her mother, so obviously I'm an idiot and I don't know anything. Unfortunately, I will say she does have a dud for a guidance counselor. And
You've hit the jackpot.
yeah, because her executive functioning is so poor and I can't be involved because I'm her mother, she has missed every single deadline. So every deadline for the PSAT, the pre-act, or everything, driver's ed, everything. So she's going to miss the deadlines for colleges. I'm telling you right now, to the point that I'm so concerned, I don't think she's going to get the applications in on time. And he's not on top of anything because so I've spoken with her special ed liaison and he says, go to the guidance counselor. So, and my daughter says, stay out of it, mom. And she won't even keep an assignment book or anything. So, or keep anything in her phone or anything. So I feel like she's sort of digging her own grave. She has been even, what's the word? She's had 5 or 6 admissions recruiters contact her, and she hasn't even called them back. And I think which first of all is painfully rude, but I also think it's painfully stupid. And if she's not going, if she's not ready for next year, this is her way of even subconsciously saying, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
That's okay. But I'm worried she's going to burn bridges for later.
I
And
think though, because of the environment that we're in, I would hope that there is some grace there. If that can be something that, I think we're all really struggling just to get through the day to day. I'm curious to see how colleges are going to react. I'm curious to see what the admissions look like. A lot of the students I've talked to have said that, I think I'm going to work a little bit because I can. I need to take care of, parents. So I really think that, if there's an issue, you could kind of explain it and say like, I haven't and gotten back to you because I've been handling a lot of things. And I think that there's more grace and understanding to those situations now than there has been. Because everybody, it's not just like a small pocket of individuals. We're all experiencing this together. And
she's got to take the initiative and do it.
right, but not to put, like, I know that she's been going through a lot. So I think that there's a lot that can be said for that. And if it's worded in a certain way and there's a time, because the thing is, like, there's always a time, right? There's always a time. And we're so, I think, stuck in, you go to high school, you go to college, this is what you do. Before it was, you go to high school, you get married, you have a bunch of kids. Like, I was going to graduate high school, be married by 22 and have about 3 kids by 28. That didn't happen, by the way. But that was very much like, that's what my parents did. So that's what I was going to do. And I switched it up. And so I think
whatever path works is fine, and whatever timeline works is fine. She's extraordinarily capable, and I think she's petrified. And I don't think she has the skill. She doesn't have the skills in this area, and she's not accepting the help that she has. And I wish that
ready, it'll come.
But I also
one of the hardest things for us to do as people who have knowledge is to sit and watch our kids who aren't doing what we know they can do or should do, not do it.
Exactly.
That's the hardest thing.
But I also wish that there were consistency across the country about these kinds of things. So
I'm curious. I think as my brain continues to go here, I would love to get somebody from a disability office here to actually talk, because I've never gone through that process, and maybe several and different ones. The one thing that I will say next week, and I do want to get to the rest of you. We do have about 10 more minutes here, but it's going to be with his name is Jesse. He has a panel of students who are going to talk about a program that they've gone through in the state of Virginia called I'm Determined, all about self-determination and all about ways to empower, like what you're saying. I miss a bunch of deadlines, like this is something that I struggle with. We're not teaching enough, and I can say this in my own experience within a district, enough of those self-determination type skills to know how to advocate. I think there's pockets of teachers who will take the time to do it because they understand the importance, but for the most part, it's not in curriculum. So it's not done. It's something extra and more. So they've actually done it all through the state of Virginia, and they're looking to expand the program to other states. And I'm super excited about that. But I think it is teaching them. We've been so focused on the grades and the academics and the scores and percentiles that we forgot about the actual kid and what they're experiencing. And if we don't take this time to start to focus on that, we miss the whole point of whatever reason this pandemic has come upon us. So I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit more time on that. Eleanor's iPad. I would love to see what you were looking to get from tonight. If there's additional questions that I can ask and try to figure out a way to keep you connected. Oh, you're still on mute. There we go.
Oh, okay. Hi. I agree with the other girl. I know what you're going through with the executive function
Yeah.
and the independence. I have a kid that he's a junior too, and he had a class this year, design thinking, which was like what was it, in a tech engineering class or something, which I thought would be, it's the first time they offered this class this year. And it was very it was very good. In the beginning, I thought it would be a good class for him to try out. And then halfway through, he was like, oh, I can't take it. I can't do it. He couldn't focus on it. He can do the work if he really wanted or had the insight to say, okay, I can do this. But he was very, so about like 3 or 4 kids dropped out of the class, signed out and took a failure on it, and then he came to me and he had like a 50 in it. And I said, well, it was too late for him to transfer into another class because in the next semester they didn't have nothing open. So they were offering him a study hall, which would be 2 study halls. And I said, no way, I can't deal with that. So we talked to him and he stuck it out. And just recently he got his grade, which is a 70, which I'm so happy that he just got a passing mark in it. So that's what his whole thing now is. He wants to be very independent, which is good.
Yeah.
But he won't tell me anything like what's going on. I didn't even know last week they were talking about the college. We said to him if he wanted to go full remote, we would do it as long as he kept up his grades. And so far he's holding up to his end of the deal. But college, he was going back and forth with going to a trade school, going to college. He doesn't know what he wants to do. Last week he wanted to be plumber. Last year he wanted to be an athlete. The year before that he wanted to be a scientist. So it's every week there's something different. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I think one of the things that I've been struggling with, especially through the pandemic, is like, what is the purpose of education? Is it to learn the math and the reading? Is it to make you a more expansive thinker? So then, okay, so if that's what high school is just to make sure you have like basic knowledge of a lot of different things, then what should colleges really be? Is it because I'm training for a career? Is it to, more of like the liberal arts because we need to understand diverse ideas and understand different types of individuals, because we're all in these echo chambers right now of what we all believe and think, that it's hard to see the outside. Like, is that what we want from our colleges? Like, what does it mean to have a college degree? Because now you could, as far as the money goes, you could be a YouTuber, you could be on TikTok. Like, there's all these other
You could be buying stocks. That's what the kids want.
Yeah, no,
today, they're talking about buying stocks. I'm hearing from one mom, her kid started this year college, and he's having, right now with the pandemic, they gave him the biology book. She said it's like they told him to read, I don't know how many chapters, but he's having a difficult time. It's like they're just giving you assignments and go do it yourself, and
that's the thing. I mean, educators from preschool to college have been thrown into a modality that we're not ready for. There's professors that do teach online, but it's not a lot of them. So at the same time, like, is it the right time to jump into college? Is this the time for us to kind of rethink what that looks like and start to put, I mean, these are all and very philosophical questions here. But I think it is knowing what you want to get from it. Is it very career? I know I want to be a plumber, so I'm going to go take this cert, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk to the union rep, and boom. Or is it like, I'm not sure, I still need to explore, I need to take, like, I need that time away from mom and dad, because I like to say that I grew up the most, not when I was at school and a scared and little girl that was afraid to mess up, but when I took my first job and I moved to another state and I just kind of did it. I was like, I need to do this. I'm going. And like being on my own and developing like other relationships that weren't my immediate family, that's when I grew up. So there's also not a timeline that college is going to be the formative time that you're going to become an adult, because I've seen people who graduate. I'll never forget. I dated somebody who was in a fraternity they were all like med students, and I would just look around and go, like, one of them is now my dad's heart doctor, and it's just like, whew, please, like, I'm sure that your training is great, but I've seen you at parties. So it's just, it's one of those things like, how do you know when you're ready? And you don't, as far as jobs and stuff, you learn once you get there. Like, I graduated with an ed degree, my first job, whew, thank God I had a good mentor, because I don't think I would still be a teacher. And I think, I don't know, like, when did that start, that like you have to go to college? Was that like 80s, 90s? Like, when did that was like, you don't have another choice? That definitely happened. Anybody else with a little bit more background?
And when I went to college, when I went to high school, it was even more than that. We heard at least several times a week, because it was the same school that my daughter went to, well, same district that my daughter goes to now, was not only do you have to go to college, you will have absolutely no future if you don't go to an Ivy League school.
Wow. Right. And I think that changes based on where you live, right? What your
Well, my
community.
daughter, she's not allowed to apply to an Ivy League school because she'll be miserable. I mean, if that's not for her, it's just not.
Yeah. And I think that's something, and I don't know if that exists, but like, what do you want to take away? If you go to a community college, like, is it because you want to be close to home? Is it because you need to work so that you can save the money to go? Like, I don't know, like, it's such a process. It's really a transition. And I think that the support and the help and knowing the right questions to ask, I think the sum of tonight is, know how to ask good questions. And if you don't get the right answers, go to another door.
Yep.
And if that doesn't work, find somebody who's going to help you find that. Anyway, see, a bunch of people are joining at 8. I knew this was going to happen.
But I also think it's an important message that one can get a phenomenal education or horrible education wherever at any school. It's what you put into it.
Oh, sure. That's true for high school too,
Anywhere.
right?
Absolutely.
But I think that there shouldn't be that it's not going to work if you don't graduate and go directly to a school. You'll still find a way.
It has to be your path.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure for them to go right to like a 4-year school. I mean, a ton of it. And, that was my son's problem. He went to a 4-year school, partied his butt off. We pulled him home. And then he went to RC, whatever it was, back in the late 2008 or whatever. And he went back to the same college because he kept saying, I want to go back. There's his diploma right there, right behind me. And he graduated. And not only did he graduate on Dean's List every semester he went back. But when he graduated high school, he really wasn't ready because he was going buck wild, like drinking and partying. And,
Yeah.
you know, he went to an all boys high school. So now he realized what a girl was, you know, like, and I think it's important to, like Emily said, you know, follow your path. My kids, I case manage. You know, you may not be a math teacher. Math sucks. I hate math. Algebra is hard. This is hard. Well, then you have to put them in, go in your direction of what your strengths are. If your strengths are people skills, because my daughter had an IEP and I'm like, you're never going to be a math teacher, but she had great people skills.
Right.
Can I just say that she might be the best math teacher because she knows what it feels like to struggle.
Yes.
The number one thing missing in math is people who actually had to like struggle through math.
Exactly. Right.
Because you think differently.
It's so true.
Just saying, you never know. Because I never thought I'd be.
She was pretty bad in math though, so I knew she would. I mean, I just knew it. I'm like, so she has
I know
a
what
job
you
in communications, you know, like
Yeah.
she's got a great job in 4 years. So I think you got to follow, you know, what your strengths are and go in that direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just so much. I mean, why do YouTube stars become YouTube stars? Whatever they're doing, Minecraft, unboxing, I don't get it, but they're passionate about it. So
Yeah.
it works.
Making money.
Vicky, I know that you've been here as well. You're a frequent flyer here, so I would love to hear your take on.
I don't know, I'm a frequent flyer. I don't want to take up time because I know we're almost at the end. I'm actually on the other side of the desk. I'm a college professor and an advisor in college. So I love hearing this conversation because I feel as though I know my students better just as I listen to people talking about, the struggles and all. And I guess the two things that sort of popped out at me, the talk about skills and readiness. And I think, just from the students that I see in the classroom all the time, a lot of them are really, as you're describing, bright students. They've got all the academic skills. They don't have the life skills. And it's the life skills that get in their way. So whether it's, time management, everybody talks about that, but it's also self-management because a lot of us can do a great plan on paper, but then making ourselves stick to it is different. Being able to advocate for yourself, a lot of those things that anything parents can do in high school to help students get those life skills, because I think the high schools are working on the academic skills, and parents can maybe help with some of those life skills. And then the other thing was just some of the talk about perseverance and grit and sticking it out, and somebody who wants to quit and then manages to go through. That's the other thing I often see lacking in some of the students. They're willing to give up a little, this is too hard for me, or I just I'm not a good test taker. So then the question is, well, then what can you do to be better? So, it's so complex for students, and the schools are doing so much, and parents, I think, can pick up some of the other side of the coin. And I focus on parents because I have a podcast for college parents and for high school parents. So it's and I don't mean to plug it. It's college parent. It's College Parent Central. The website has lots of articles, and there's we have a podcast too. So lots of things to think about. And I just really want to say thank you to everybody who, as you share your stories and questions, it really helps those of us on the other side, on the college side, to understand more who the students are that we're getting. So thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you. No, plug away. That's what this is about. It is a free space for community sharing. Like I said, I hope that everything is okay with Jennifer, because I haven't heard from her. So in times like these, I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm hoping that it's all fine. But when I do reach out to her, I will make sure that everybody that is on the list will get the resources, as well as a link if you do want to purchase her book. It's very much like a pickup. You don't have to read it a cover to cover, but like, for example, put yourself in social situations, even if it's uncomfortable. And then it has like a tip and then a scenario. So it's almost like social stories for kids to actually work through things. Which I've never seen a format quite like that, where it's not just like, this is all the things to do, now go do it, soldier. It's more like, hey, this is a tip and let me help you think about that. So I really appreciate that about her work. And hopefully I'll see you all next week or in the future. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out, educatormuller@gmail.com. I'm currently working on and getting a website up. We're a little bit delayed in getting some of the previous episodes up while I maintain a full-time job and take care of a toddler. But it's all happening, and the purpose is community and togetherness and to help us all navigate this crazy time. So I look forward to speaking with all of you sometime in the future, and have a wonderful night. I will be sticking around if you would like to ask additional questions.
Have a good night, guys.
Night. Thank you.